Hi everybody, Jake here at DMAX Store. We're going through SEMA today and we're doing a quick interview here. I want to start off this one a little bit different. We get a lot of questions on this every time someone calls in about your company. How do you pronounce McGaughys?
It's pronounced McGaughys. You hear a bunch of different ways. Most people say it's McGaughy's or McGaughy's, but it's pronounced McGaughys.
Well, that sounds pretty simple. Not McGaughys, McGaughy's,
Yeah.
McGaughys. We see this billboard right here with a McGaughys 4-inch kit. That's something we haven't seen in the past. A lot of your kits are for 7 inches. They always look really good. I've seen them, but a lot of guys don't want to go that high. What kind of inspired the 4-inch kit?
So just like you said, right, a lot of guys want these trucks. They're sitting big anyways from the factory, and we've always made the 7 to 9-inch kit, the big in wheels and tires, but there's a different market out there for the guy that wants a lifted truck, but maybe wants a little bit more than a leveling kit, wants to be able to put big wheels and tires on it, but doesn't want to cut up the truck, right? Cut up the fender wells. So we decided to do this 4-inch kit, make it as an NTD so we're not dropping the torsion housing underneath the truck. So we're maintaining all that extra ground clearance. By the 4-inch lift kit, you're still gaining all the ground clearance underneath it. We don't widen the track width at all on this kit. It stays stock, right? So a lot of times you'll see where the front wheel hangs out wider than the rear. Some guys, they'll want to put a spacer on the back. Our kit is developed to keep a 0 track width increase. That also allows us to be able to run like an 18x9 with a 5.7 backspace on a 37-inch tire on this truck set at 4 inches. There's next to no trimming. We had to take 3/4 of an inch off the front plastic valance, and that's it, right? It clears everything else. So it just turned out to be a really sweet setup. We're super excited how the truck turned out.
That's awesome. So you said a lot of backspacing on here. With that, you can fit the factory 20-inch wheels, is that correct?
Correct. The factory 20-inch wheels with a little bit larger aggressive tire will also fit on this truck, just out of the box.
Nice. That's definitely a really popular look for guys these days. Just wanting to stick with those 20s. I see them all the time, and then like, hey, this is rubbing on my spindle or whatnot. So I mean, that's really cool that you're able to fit the factory 20s and have a lot of back spacing for those guys who want smaller tires with bigger tires with smaller wheels. It's a good combo.
It's more the off-road look. The 7 to 9-inch guys will use a much bigger wheel and tire, like a 24. And we have a guy in town that actually bought one of these 4-inch kits because he likes that look and decided to put 24 14s, but on 33s, right?
Oh, yeah.
And turned it up to like a 5-inch kit. And hey, that's cool. Everyone's got their own style. This kit, the way it's set up, more of an off-road, it's pretty cool. A lot of people walk by and they're like, man, is this thing lifted? It looks huge, right? But you really don't see all like the jewelry underneath it, right? Because it's all underneath and it's hidden. So yeah, we're happy with how it turned out.
No, it's really exciting. I mean, as soon as I saw it on social media, I was like, we need to get that on our website ASAP. Then on top of that, I mean, I see these M84 shocks. Can you dive into that a little bit?
So we built this shock specifically for this application. So all of our part numbers, right? We got like 1,300 part numbers. A lot of times companies will use a generic shock because it happens to be the right length and it just fits. On this truck, being a no torsion drop, that cam that's on the lower control arm takes a lot more leverage on the rebound side. So we couldn't just buy a shock to put on this to control that the way we needed it to. Us building the shock in-house allows us to valve it specifically to this application. So we know all the corner weights, this truck with a torsion bar, in this application, we have a shock package that we've dynoed, spent hundreds of hours tuning it, not only on a dyno, but I call it like the butt of your seat, right? The feeling you get from the truck, as well as it's our work truck. So we pull a trailer with it, we haul stuff, pallets of parts, whether we're going to pick up something or pick up hardware. So we use the truck every day. So it allows us to fine tune that ride and to make these trucks like they were originally. So I always have this thing, right? If we build a kit, it has to ride better, at least stock or better than it did, like without a doubt, or we won't make it. So having the fine tunability on the M84 line to be able to do that in-house has been great for us, right? Now we're going to implement it in our new Ford line. Some of the new 7 to 9 HD kits will start to have them. We're going to have a reservoir option as well. So it's exciting.
That's really cool. You guys build those in-house, and I have had that be a common complaint is the rebound. It's always a little bit funky on these trucks. So you guys are being able to dial that in by testing it. Sounds like you do a lot of testing, going into R&D. Sounds like there's a lot of miles on this kit. especially on this truck here. So can you tell us a little bit about that R&D process that you guys did?
Yeah, for sure. So anytime we get a truck, we'll bring it in. We check turning radius, scrub line, we corner weight the truck, we check it for vibrations, and then we start to dive in. Okay, what does the truck have for max axle travel on droop and compression? How much clearance do we have? We start documenting all that. Once we come up with an idea, then we'll start working on a solid model for the spindle. All of our spindles are casted out of ductile iron. Once we've come up with a design, so we'll make a solid model on SolidWorks, we'll design it, we'll 3D print a model. Once that model's made, it'll have all the parts, the draft holes, the angles. I'll put it on the truck in plastic. Not set it down, but I'll set it at ride height. So we can turn it, check turning radius, does it clear the tie rod on the wheel, all that stuff, right, that we don't have to guess about anymore. And it's only like 20 bucks in plastic because you're 3D printing it. Once we find, hey, this is what we want, we don't need any changes, then we'll go back, we'll 3D print a mold that has draft. We'll send that mold to the foundry. The foundry will then make a sand casting off of it. They'll pour one metal casting off of it. They'll send it to us. We'll make machinable plates. We have 6 horizontal machining centers that these will get put inside. We'll machine all the operations, take it out, then test fit it on the truck. During that time of waiting for it to be casted, we're doing the CAD work on all the sheet metal parts, putting it into solid model form, making sure all the holes line up perfect when the end consumer gets it, right? Nothing worse than having a cool looking part and the holes don't line up, right? So we take all the time and effort to do that, to design it. We go through, bolt it on the truck, then we start checking our alignment, how are we on scrub radius, all that necessary stuff to make the truck ride like it did originally. Then we start diving into tuning the shocks. So it's a ton of work. I love doing it. We're a family-owned company. We've been in business 40 years doing it. There's always one of the family members on the floor in the manufacturing department, so we're overseeing quality control and development of the product. So
that's super cool. So you mentioned that the company's family-owned still. I mean, that's huge. We love having our family-owned company at DMAX store. Still one owner, not selling out to corporation or anything. It's really cool to see that in the industry, especially with Wheel Pros buying up pretty much half the market lately. So definitely cool. Can you go into a little bit about kind of how McGaughys was founded and a little bit of background of their company?
Yeah. So my dad and mom started the company in 1984. My dad used to build tea buckets back in the day, right? And he bought a 55 Chevy. My mom couldn't drive it. It had a huge 14-inch steering wheel with no power steering, and it wandered all over the road. So he came up and designed a power steering box that you could bolt onto a 1955 Chevy that basically made it like Corvette steering.
Oh, wow.
Turned that one part number into another part number, and then into suspension for that 55 Chevy. Once we've developed a product line for it, we just kind of grew that from 55 Chevy to 57 Chevy to Camaros, C10 trucks, OBS sport trucks. When I graduated high school, I was really big into the Chevy truck, sport truck market, and there wasn't really a lowering kit out. So we developed a drop kit and actually won an award from GM here at SEMA for our drop spindle that we patented.
Yep.
That kind of opened up doors for dealership work, and we just continued to just build and innovate and build new products. And then a lot of the dealerships reached out to us about 15 years ago, and we're like, hey, how come you don't build lift kits? We'd love your guys' lowering kits. We never really thought about the idea, and then we were like, you know what, let's dive into it. And one of the things that we do a little bit different on our lifted side is if we build a kit that is called like a 4 or a 7 or a 10, we drop everything down that full amount.
Okay.
So the cross members are dropped a full dimension. On our 4-inch kit, it's truly 4 inches of drop. Okay. The spindle's 4 inches taller. The diff is dropped a full 4 inches. And a lot of times guys will overextend stuff because it's maybe cheaper or lighter. We don't really do that. We don't cut corners. Our kits are a little bit more, but we give you everything that you need in the kit to complete the job. So, and we're really proud of what we make, man. We make it here. We're a family-owned company. That's it.
That's really awesome. I mean, we've had the drop spindles on our 2010 LMM race truck for quite a while now. So that thing sits low, mean. I like to see it go flying down the racetrack. So it's definitely a fun truck to see. That's cool. That's kind of where I was introduced to you guys a handful of years ago, is into lowering kits, and that's what I've known you for years. So that's really cool. Then we've seen the 7-inch kits come out for the GM trucks. They're super flashy, super nice looking. See them on most of the trucks out here at SEMA. And then seeing this 4-inch kit, I'm just super excited for. So I can't wait to have this on dmaxstore.com and add these products and start getting more of these M84 shocks out there so people can really experience the difference and know that the amount of R&D that went into this, that just blew my mind. I thought that there was going to be a good amount of R&D, but it was way more than I ever could imagine. So
yeah, there's definitely
really
a ton of work that goes into it, but there should be, right? You're spending, hundreds of thousands on these trucks now to buy a new truck, or even if you have an older truck, man, like you want to put the time and dedication into fine tuning and making it is easy for the installer to install and the best finished product the customer can get. And that's what we shoot for.
For sure. Well, thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate it. If you guys want any McGaughy's parts, head over to dmaxstore.com and we'll get your Duramax set up with McGaughy's.